Hi crafters, welcome to Creative Moments by G. I'm Georgia, and today we are working with Perched on a Tree by Stampin' Up. We have 4 simple, gorgeous cards that we're going to make, but we've challenged ourselves. Each card will use a combination of these colors in our palette. So let's head down to the crafting table and let's get started. Now, the first card that we're going to make, you'll need to go ahead and cut you a base card that is 8.5 by 5.5 and score it at 4 1/4. And we're going to make a couple mats for the top of our card. But to save money when you send this card, we're going to go ahead and punch out some labels. Now, this also gives you labels that you can use in the future. Now, you want to make sure that you get it in far enough so that you still have your border and you don't have to worry about that. Now, let's go ahead and lay this down with some adhesive. And we are using Kalel. We love this glue. It never clots on us and it allows you to move around your mat so that you have plenty of time. And if you're interested in this, go ahead and check below the video. We have a link to purchase this on Amazon. So let's go ahead and just make sure this is down, adhered to the card. And now we have cut another mat. And this mat is 5 by 3 3/4. And I want to remind you that all our measurements will be listed over on creativemomentsbyg.com, so you don't have to worry about writing those down. Now, we are going to stamp a little bit on this, and this is also going to be a landscape card. So make sure that you turn it this way, and let's go ahead and stamp some speckles on this part of our card. Now, we love this stamp set because look at all that you get. You get the bird, the branch, some wonderful sentiments, this big color blotch right here, and then you get these little speckles. And that's what we're going to use on our card. So we have those speckles. We have the colors that we challenged ourselves to use: early espresso, old olive, pumpkin pie, and soft suede. And on our blends, we're using the pumpkin pie duo, the soft suede, and then we're bringing in our black. So let's go ahead and add some soft suede speckles. Now, because I don't want them too dark, I'm going to go ahead and stamp off and just stamp all over this mat. Okay, and that's enough. And now we need to go ahead and stamp our sentiment, but because we want to make sure it's nice and dark, we're going to go ahead and bring in our Stamparatus, which we love to use. Now, let me give you another tip on that so that you don't have this fall down on your table. Go ahead and put a case behind it, and that'll keep it right where you need it. Now remember, this is landscape, so turn it landscape. And we already know where we're going to place our bird and our branch. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a magnet right here. And then over on this side, this one is going to have the sentiment, "Let heaven and nature sing." And we want it about right here in the corner. And it's always important to stamp your sentiment first because that way you can place your items around it. Go ahead and lightly add your memento. Bring it down, hold it. We need to make it a little darker, so tap, tap, tap. And we're going to do it one more time. Tap, tap, tap. And there we have our sentiment. Now, this is how it's going to go on the card. But we have one more feature that we want to add to this card. We want to add some scored lines just to give it some dimension. So you're going to need to bring out your trimmer. And we are going to put our scored lines about right here. Now we're going to turn it upside down because we want the raised part to be on the front. So let's go ahead and put this at 1, and then we're going to score every 1/8 inch. Now make sure you don't have your cutting blade up there. Move that out of the way and go ahead and give it a good crease. We're going to score every 1/8 inch until you come to 2 inches. And now we're simply going to flip it over, and you can barely see those raised lines, but it just adds interest, doesn't it? So let's go ahead and bring in our card, and we are going to lay this down right like that, but we're going to put some dimensionals on it because we have one more element that we want to add to this card. We are going to add our string to this. Now, we're going to go ahead and just tape it right in the back. So kind of get it right where you want it. And just put a piece of tape right on the back. And now we're simply adding it. And this can be any string that you want. Any thread. We've just selected this kind of old olive string. Now we're going to space it apart, and we want to make sure it doesn't bow, so you don't want to get it in there too tightly. And simply flip it over, and now we're going to add another piece of tape. Now I'm going to show you a trick. We really want our thread to come in right here, so you can use a dimensional to get it to do that. So let's go ahead and just add 2 dimensionals, and that will hold it in place so that we have it spaced a little bit on the sides, but it goes in right here where the bird's going to be. So let's go ahead and just add some dimensionals on the back of this mat and take the backing off. Now we're going to lay this right down on the front of our card and move him right where he needs to be. And we have a bird that we already colored and we cut out. Now we are going to color one of these so that you can see how we use the blends. But look at that. We simply used pumpkin pie, the dark and the light. Now we're going to add him right there, but before we do that, we're simply adding a branch right here, and then we're going to just add some leaves on the outside. Now this all comes with the stamp set. It's so pretty. So go ahead and take the backing of those dimensionals off, kind of add it to your branch. We're going to just glue that right to the top of our branch. So just add a little bit of glue. And just a little bit right here. And it's just sticking to the branch so that it can move around just a little bit like that. And now we're going to add a dimensional to our bird so that we can have him sitting right there on the branch. You want to make sure and add many dimensionals on that branch because he needs to be sitting kind of right there on top of it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to slit just a little bit right there so that we can slide him right into that branch. And now we're just moving to the inside of the card. So we went ahead and we cut 2 mats. We cut our soft suede and another white mat for the inside. We're just going to once again punch out some labels that we can keep for another card. We're going to add this right to the front. And now we're just going to add one small leaf right here, just on the inside of the card. And this comes in your bundle that you can buy. So very pretty. Look at this card. We love this. We love the color coordination. Let's move on to card 2. Our second card, we are using Old Olive as our base, and we're simply cutting it 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. Let's just go ahead and lay down our mat on the inside of the card. Now we are going to leave this open because we are stamping our sentiment on the front, and this you can have the entire inside card to write on. And now what we've done, something a little different. We went ahead and we cut 2 mats for the front. Now on this one, we're going to offset it just a little bit like that. And we're going to put this one straight. But we also cut some strips to go ahead and add underneath those mats. And we decided to do that in soft suede. So let's go ahead and lay those down. The measurements will be listed on our website. Now, if it's a little bit longer, just go ahead and just use your scissors and snip that off. And now what we want to do on our top mat is we want to go ahead and stamp our message. And so we are using "Your kindness warms my heart." But because we want to make sure it gets dark enough, we're going to go ahead and bring out the Stamparatus again. And these simple, gorgeous cards really are very quick to make. We love this. And we're just going to put this right here in the bottom. So let's go ahead and get our magnets and just put one right here so it'll hold it in place. That's dark, but let's go a little darker. Oh, perfect. And now we are going to put a few speckles on this card as well. So let's go ahead and get our speckles. Now we're going to use our soft suede, so we want to make sure and stamp off because we don't want it too dark. Okay. Love these speckles. And now we're going to take this mat and we're just going to angle it just a little bit, and we're going to put this one straight. And now I'm going to set this one up on dimensionals just for that added height. Go ahead and take our backing off and lay it down on the card. Now, we went ahead and we colored this bird, and look at this. Beautiful. We used the light pumpkin pie, and we left the breast completely white. Now, we did come in with the soft suede, and we very lightly colored his wings. So we're going to go ahead and lay him right there, and this time it's going to be up like this just a little bit, and he's going to be sitting right on that branch. So let's go ahead and lay this down on our card. And let's add him on some dimensionals right here. Okay, and here we have the front of our card. We have the inside, but we want to go ahead and add just a few leaves right here. And there we have our second card, using the same color coordination, but a very different card. Let's move into our third card. Now this card, we are using a basic white card, and we're going to have a base of our Old Olive. We're simply going to add that to the front. Now we will be adding a white mat on top. And we are going to use a technique that I think you're really going to like. So let's put this to the side. We stamped our bird already, but I'm going to show you how we colored it. So let's go ahead and just zoom in. And let's get our pumpkin pie and our light pumpkin pie. So all we're going to do is we are simply taking the brush nib and we're going over this bottom part right here. And really it already has lines on it, so that's going to give you the shading that you need. And I like to go ahead and turn my card instead of turning my hand. And now we're simply bringing in our light pumpkin pie. Once again, we're going to use our brush nib. And now we're going to bring in our black simply to go over his claws and his beak and a little bit on his eyes. So you have to be careful when you're working with his eyes. You don't want to cover up that white spot. So just kind of dab a little bit. And now we're going to cut both of these out because I'm going to show you a technique that I think you're really going to like. Okay, so we have cut our bird out twice because of the technique we're going to use. But let's go ahead and bring in our card. Now on this card, we are simply going to have him sitting right here. We're going to put some beautiful strips down here just to color coordinate everything. So the first strip we're going to put down is our soft suede, just to give it some interest right here. Now the next one we're going to put down is our white. And what's interesting about this is it actually looks like you cut strips, but you didn't. They're actually larger pieces of paper, but it builds it up at the bottom just for that interest. And then we're going to put pumpkin pie. Now that ties in all our colors for our color challenge. Now look at that. Now we're going to add this. We also have to add our sentiment, and on this one we're going to just stamp thanks. And we're going to hold it for good contact. Nice and dark. Now we're just going to add our branch kind of at an angle, just a little bit like that. We're going to glue it down. Just kind of angle it so it doesn't go off the card. I'm going to leave these branches up just a little bit. We have cut out the leaves. They're kind of a bushy little die that comes with the bundle. But we're going to use this kind of as his nest. He's going to be sitting right here. So let's go ahead and just add a little bit of glue right here. And glue that down. And now we're going to add this bird just right here. He's just sitting in his nest. We're going to add it just with some glue right here at the bottom. We're going to add a really cool technique. So here's a tip. We have used our blends to color a second bird, and now we're simply going to cut this out and set this up on dimensionals, and it'll give it that 3D appearance. So let's just go ahead and get that cut out. If you wanted to do his head, you could do that as well, but we're going to do his breast. And now we're going to set it up, and it really makes it look 3D. Just line it up. And look at that. You can kind of see how it stands up a little bit. So now let's go ahead and finish the inside of our card. We're going to lay down our old olive. And then we're going to put down a mat, just so that we have plenty of room to write for our sentiment. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move to our fourth card that we are making. Now this one's very interesting because we are actually using a top fold card, and we're going to go ahead and bring in white as a mat, but we're going to bring in also the old olive. Let's go ahead and lay this down, but first we want to go ahead and stamp it. So let's put it in the Stamparatus just to make sure we get a nice dark sentiment. Now this is a top fold card, and we're going to put it right at the top, our sentiment. So go ahead and line it up in your Stamparatus as a top fold. Put this right in the top right hand. And you know, when you use your Stamparatus, if you're making 5, 10 of these cards, you could very easily cut your mat and just really get this stamped very quickly. Tap, tap, tap. Nice and dark. Now, we are not going to speckle this card. So let's just go ahead and lay this down on our card. Now, we have cut this to size, and we are going to do a really interesting score decoration on the front. So you need to bring out your trimmer, and we want to score lines every 1/4 inch until we are finished all the way across. And it kind of makes it look like paneling just a little bit. So we're going to bring in our card, and we are just adding it to the front of our card. This gives it a great interest element for your card. And now we are going to bring in our tree. He's going to just sit just like this, and we may need to cut it off just a little bit. So let's go ahead and lay that down. And we're going to bring in some leaves just to add interest on this card. We'll just put a leaf here and another one here. Now, I do want to show you once again how we're coloring this one, because we're going to leave it once again, the breast area right here, we're going to leave that white. So let's go ahead and zoom in and color him. Now on this one, we are using the light pumpkin pie all over. Now when you're coloring with this brush nib, the thick one, you want to make sure and lay it on its side so that you don't ruin the nib. We're going to do his head. And then we're going to bring in just some soft suede, light soft suede, and we're just very lightly going over some of these areas that are already darkened for us, just to give it a little bit of interest. Now, if you manage to get it a little too dark, you don't like it that dark, you can always come back in with your light pumpkin pie and go over it, and it will lighten it right up. You don't have to worry about it. But we like that, so let's just go ahead and bring him right in. Now he's going to be sitting on that branch just like this. So let's go ahead and add him on dimensionals. And now I'm going to add this one. I'm just going to put a little glue right here so that the top of our leaf can come up. So let's just add that, and we keep this up. You can curve it up just a little bit. Do the same thing to our brown one, just at the bottom. And just kind of curve it up and hold it while it dries. And then we're going to go ahead and put one, sneak one in right here. And because we raised our bird up on dimensionals, you can slip it right underneath. Now we need to finish the inside. So we're going to add our old olive mat and add our white mat. We have taken Perched in a Tree stamp set by Stampin' Up, used a color challenge, and created 4 simple, gorgeous cards that you can make very quickly. And let's review those cards again. Here is our first card. Love how we went ahead and we angled this mat, just made it so pretty. We used a landscape card to go ahead and add thread to it as an element of interest. We also decorated the inside. We decided to do another card where we added the interest at the bottom. These are just simply strips laid on top of each other. And then also we cut out his wing area, added it on dimensionals again to give it that 3D appearance. And finally, we created a top fold card that actually created a panel with our trimmer. So this created that element of interest. We hope you like these cards. This is a fantastic stamp set to purchase. All our supplies will be listed below the video. Go out, make it a fantastic day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.